Our next session, this will go from 10:45 here to 11:45. This is Ho'oponopono Mutual Self-Becoming. This workshop will explore the universal practice of truth-telling at the core of Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono is a central operating principle of Ho'oponopono when we return to truth and the sharing of what has affected us, what we are feeling, or what we wish to release. Ho'oponopono is aloha in action. It is a kanaka priority that allows the ʻIke kupuna to fill our purpose and to give us direction and guidance as we all move to evolve and to heal. Our presenter today is Dr. Manulani Aluli Meyer. Dr. Myer is a Hawaiian scholar practitioner coming home to Oahu after 25 years in Hilo, 7 years in the continental USA, and 6 years in Aotearoa, New Zealand. She is a worldwide Indigenous scholar dedicated to expanding the views of knowledge and to better address the needs of our time. Dr. Aluli Meyer has her doctorate from Harvard University on the topic of Hawaiian epistemology, the philosophy of knowledge, and remains dedicated to its capacity to inspire, instruct, and heal. She is active in the food sovereignty, Aloha, ʻAina, Hawaii, and the ʻIke Pono movements throughout Hawaii, and she is now the Konohiki of Kūlana o Kapolei, a Hawaiian place of learning at the University of Hawaiʻi, West Oahu. She has been a Ho'oponopono practitioner for 30 years. Our chat monitor today is Amber Drake, and our resource persons are Dr. Charmaine Bisson and Marcy Ventura. Please remember, if you're feeling a bit tender or just need someone to chat with, we can move you to a resource room, a virtual hallway where you can both get set up to chat. And when you're ready to come back to the presentation, you can. Now, let me turn it over to you, Dr. Mono.
Mahalo nui, Danielle. Mahalo nui. Okay, everybody, here we go. Here is one of our beloved protective factors, and it is e ho mai. And let's do this together. Please mute yourselves. When we enter this topic of Ho'opono, we enter it with gratitude and humility and readiness. All right, so mute yourselves and let's do this together. And if you don't know it, and if you don't feel comfortable with the words, just hum it with us, okay? Hum, 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 hum. It's about resonance. It's always about the essence, Auntie Lynette says. It's not about the form, all right? So please mute yourself, everybody, and let's do e ho mai, and let's get in the groove of what, so that we can prepare ourselves to understand what Pono is, all right? E ho mai ka ʻike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e au, o nā mele e. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e a, e ho mai ka ʻike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e au, o nā mele e. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e a, e ho mai ka ʻike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e au, o nā mele. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai e. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Wow, where to begin? Here we are within a workshop on Ho'opono, and we've been asked as kanaka, as Hawaiians, to kokua this movement for suicide prevention. And I have to tell you, it's an honor to be here. And it's time for us to really radically collaborate, because we have practices, we have principles, we have values. And one of the main ones of Hawaii, which is old, is called Pono. And everyone has their own rendition of what Pono is. Isn't that great? That's the point of diversity. And just so you know, we get one high tolerance for ambiguity, and that is the nature of culture. All right. There's not one way to ever look at anything. All knowledge is not found in one definition. Same thing with Pono. So for me, I'm introducing the idea that Pono, for me only, this is my nohuna, this is my kauna, it is a synonym for truth. And truth over time matures into wisdom. So Ho'opono is basically aloha in action. It's the truth telling, it's the doing of goodness, it's the doing, it's the listening, it's the practice of truth. So I want to pare it Pono down to that, so we can have something to talk about. All right, so that's why we're doing this workshop in this conference. Okay, everybody, here we go. We are in a massive radical change, don't you think? What an opportunity for us to figure out a different way to connect to our rejuvenating practices that you folks are now calling protective factors. I love that as a synonym for Hawaiian culture and values and principles. So one of our main ideas of returning to these principles is our olelo no iao, our proverbs. One of my favorite ones is he puko'a kani ʻāina, he puko'a kani ʻāina. Coral sounds out for land, you know, and metaphorically and deeply in the hidden sense, the one reaches out, the many reaches out to the one, from the one, the many, from the many, the one. And that is like a mystical idea that also synergizes with Awamo Kuleana, my initial discussion with you folks. But please understand that this is the time to expand into a growing island of people interested in the development of our own consciousness. And the time is now. So why Ho'opono? Here's our beloved teacher, Auntie Lynette Paglinawan, with her kumu, Kawena Pukui. She's also flanked by her beloved husband Richard Likeke Paglinawan. And she has been dedicated to producing a healer in every home for many years now, because Auntie Kawena Pukui has in her introduction of the Ka'u family style of Ho'oponopono. So now there's a difference, okay? When we say Ho'oponopono, we're saying Pono twice. So this workshop is just saying Pono once, because you're not going to do it twice if you're not going to do it once, okay? So say Ho'opono, everybody. Ho'opono. Ho'opono, maikai. Ho'oponopono is the ritual. It's a family ritual where you use goodness and truth to get back to goodness and truth. That's why it's repeated. Pono. So we're not going to do Ho'oponopono today. We're going to do we're going to introduce some of the basics of what it means to be Pono. So thank you, Auntie Lynette and Tutu Kawena Pukui, for bringing us to this clarity. So in my work as an Indigenous epistemologist, you know, I've been going around the world, and, you know, people just, you know, after you speak about Hawaii and Hawaiian culture, they go, oh, that's nice. Thank you for sharing. Now, can I tell you about my Waikiki experience in my marriage? I'm like, oh. So then we turn into Indigenous philosophy, and everyone goes, oh, thank you for sharing. But you know, they think they're not Indigenous, so it doesn't. So now I'm just going to holographic epistemology, so you can read my work in another sphere. But the reason why we're going to holographic thinking and processes is because we are basically the same differently. And once we find that depth of culture in all of us, we are going to understand and respect our differences. And this is why Ho'opono is being reintroduced as a universal principle that we practice specifically, especially in Hawaii. you know, especially in Hawaii. So Lisa Robertson, a master level student in my class on philosophy, said to me said to the whole class one day, she bursted out in the middle of class. She goes, I got it, Kumu. Universality is found in the specifics. Isn't that cool? So let's talk about universal principles, but in the specifics of what it means to practice ʻIke kupuna, or Hawaiian principles and values that have survived because we have, okay? So when we talk about Ho'oponopono, when we do this work beyond these shorelines, I always like to introduce some of the major components of Ho'oponopono, but to introduce them in universal ways so that people don't feel they're separate from them, because we expand and include. We expand and include. We don't expand and exclude. That's not how evolution works. So these are some of the major components of Ho'oponopono, kukulu-kumuhana. It's the grouping and the gathering of all of us energetically. But we do that in quantum healing. Here, it's the awareness that we are entangled, and we do our own entangling, and we maintain that entanglement with our own mind and our choices. Oya i'o, the absolute core of truth-telling. And you know, in Ho'oponopono, that truth-telling takes a while to get to, because people want to blame others. People want to just speak in surface level. But oya i'o is the depth of learning, the depth of truth, and that takes time. And there's Ho'opono. In the universal ways, it's practicing and living higher principles in actions, thought, and speech. Okay? So it's not like Hawaiians, we get the corner market of living well. Aole. No. We just get the corner market of how we can express it through ancient principles, because we still ancient. I know I look kind, you know, mud dog, but hang around. I'll show you rocks as big as diamonds because our kupuna showed it to us. And this is what it means to practice. I'm a wahine kalai pohaku. These are rocks that I carve. And you know, when you carve these rocks, you got to close your eyes. That's the cool thing. You got to understand that there's one thing that's consistent and the other thing is random and consistency. And that's what creates a perfect sphere. And I love this picture because this is why we're bringing the practice of Pono forward, because we've been asked to do so. So one of my favorite books in the world is the trilogy of Nanaike Kumu. This is from Nanaike Kumu, Volume 2. As long as culture is seen as a kind of mumbo-jumbo of practice, lacking in coherence, seemingly without purpose, then the part of the self-image that rests on a sense of origin suffers very real and serious damage. The bits and pieces must be put together. So here's something I want to share with you guys, okay? And this is only my version. This is my noahuna, all right? Okay, halo ana kalau kapalili. You know, we grew up in Hawaii, and all the books were basically telling us that Hawaiian culture was a practice infanticide. Infanticide is the killing of children, babies. And I used to think to myself, wow, that's so kaumaha. I was so shamed because it was in our origin story that, father slept with his daughter and created a dead baby. Like that was not inspiring. That was not, and it remains not inspiring. This is not a story of that. Our origin story is about wa'akea, infinite space-time, wa'akea. Let me think of it. Think of the vastness of stars, the dark night, the infinite nature of our cosmos. Wa means infinite space-time. Akea is that infinite, okay? So wa'akea, he's not a man with a penis, okay, you guys? Stop anthropomorphizing our cosmological story. It's infinite space-time coupled, energetically coupled with ho'o, hoku kalani. Ho'o means to create, do. Hoku is stars. Hoku Kulani is the creation of our stars. Isn't that amazing? Infinite space-time miraculously coupled with the causative agency of stars and created life. Halo nakalau kapalili. After a baby is born, what comes after is the Ieve. And that is it's still connected to our umbilical cord. Halo is the long breath, and it's still quivering like a leaf in the wind. Clear the blood off, and it looks like the back of a kalo leaf. That changed my life, and that had to die. The Ieve, which created us, had to die for us to live, and that is our origin story. Ho'opono. Speak truth. Speak the higher truth, not the lower frequency. And when you practice that with others, and when you forgive yourself for doing it poorly, I've had to forgive myself every day for doing it poorly. But when you understand that our origin story is about the miracle of life and the absolute miracle, the mystery and the miracle of life, we begin to practice Ho'opono together. So I want to give this to you folks. So what did we do? We planted our Ieve into the ground. We planted our afterbirth into the ground, our sacred afterbirth. And then plant a coconut tree, plant ulu, plant ohia, plant lama, plant something so that your child can reverberate with the energy of that plant. And I bet we planted kalo after our first. So halo nakalau kapalili means that which quivers with the long breath, and that is the protective factors that we are rejuvenating within ourselves to always describe the higher. So let's go. Let's learn how to do this. How do we live a life of goodness, truth, and kindness? See, look at that ulu. Look at that ulu tree. That's ulu po over in Kailua. That is an amazing image. And we were there just last week through the kindness of Kamuela Bannister and his ohana. He is the kia'i of that place. And look at that kanaka ulu. Isn't that amazing? So how do we live in a life of goodness, truth, and kindness? How do we ho'opono with each other? But all I can tell you is I know when I'm not in it. That is the pono ole state. So what I'm learning, what I'm reacquainting myself with the beauty and ʻIke kupuna of Auntie Lynette Puglinawan is you got to understand the difference between reflection and critical reflection. So, when sometimes people will say, you're the problem, but we rarely think about our own capacity. So I'm learning finally what is my role in this heva. What is my role in creating this imbalance? And when I do that, you bet I get quiet. I get quiet. I get thoughtful, and I focus on figuring it out with myself and those around me. Because to practice Ho'opono, I need to tell you, that's my twin sister. That is my twin sister, Moana. And she is 10 minutes older than me. And, in the 50s, they didn't even, I don't think they knew, Mom didn't know she was Hapai with twins. So, when I was born, the nurses go, "Whoa, Mrs. Myer, you get one howly baby." And that was me. And I heard it every single day of my life that I was the howly one. So you try living up with that. All I want to do with Moana is like pounder, pounder. Just, you guys got any siblings like that? So Moana became my teacher. She became my mentor. Because if you're not mentored by difference, what are you going to do? You're basically going to, it's called neocolonization. You're going to neocolonize it. So if difference didn't mentor me, then then I wouldn't be the person I am today. So I learned early on, actually not that early. I learned recently in the last 20 years to say, I love myself, I love myself. And when you do that, you have the capacity to understand what is going wrong. And then when you figure that out, then you can change it. So Moana has become a very important teacher because I've had to forgive myself. And ho'okahila auhe mihi, the first medicine of our lives, is forgiveness. Isn't that cool? These are why Olelo no Eaus are beautiful. So what I want you to do right now is open up the chat and give us some synonyms for how you practice Ho'opono, how you practice the animation of speaking truthfully. What is Pono? How do you do that in your life? Okay, especially with your siblings. All right, let's go. Self-love opens up the world. Thanks, Danielle. Isn't she pohai? Moana is beautiful. Try, Anita, beautiful. It's now or never. Oh, that's fabulous. Oh, thanks. Just try harder. Right on, Anita. Listen first, reflect. Absolutely. The difference between hearing and listening is big in Hawaiian. Ho'olono is to hear. Ho'olohe is to listen. Listen for understanding. That's ho'olono. That's why Lono is our deity of peace and compassion. Nice, nice. Self-truth. Just be patient. Pause. Transparency creates compassion, creates empathy. Absolutely. Yeah, our daughters are our greatest teachers. Thanks, Tanya. Connection. Connection. Authenticity. Vulnerability. Open heart. Absolutely, Edwina. Thank you. Absolutely. Thanks. Hi, Joanne. Loving is absolutely the Pono. Share positivity. I know. I do appreciations with my partner every day. Absolutely. Absolutely. Be honest. That's what Ho'opono means. I had to figure out that I was so dishonest first. Always open your heart. You guys, you know what? When I figured out that Ho'opono and Pono meant truth, it's a Buddhist term also, Paticca Samuppada, that in Buddhism, you have to first figure out what truth is. And truth is, I had to figure out that I was completely a liar. And so that was only 22 years ago. And finding out that I was a liar was very humbling for me. And thank you, everybody, for putting something in there. Spend time in nature. Thanks, Karen. Ho'omalu. Fabulous. Fabulous. No fingers pointing. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Macy. Gail. Hi, Gail. Thanks. Embracing yourself. And it's taken a lifetime, hasn't it? Thanks, Gail. Thanks, Genesis. Thanks, Edwina. Yeah, our differences do teach us. That is why Moana is my mentor. And she's now my best friend. It's been 62 years. And she's my best friend. And I'm so grateful for the lessons I've learned from difference. See, what happens is we want to, we think that difference is bad, or just because you're different, I got to make you more like me, or wouldn't that be a bummer? Thank you, Karen. Nice. Thank you, Danielle. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. I want to let you know that my twin sister, we are beloved friends, but it has taken me a long time to forgive myself. So one of the main things that I'd like to go into with our women in our prisons is when we do things poorly, we say, I love myself, I love myself. Not once, it's too little. Not 3 times, it's too much. So I want us to practice right now. I love myself, I love myself. I know it's going to be a little goofy, but I want you to do it right now. Ready? Go. I love myself, I love myself. Okay? Because you're supposed to laugh because it's goofy. So when you do something, and I do something every day or every other day, hopefully, it's not every day, but when I catch myself, when I do things poorly, I love myself, I love myself. Okay. And you know, nowadays when I don't tell the truth, I say to people, wow, I just lied. And they're like, whoa, Manu, TMI. And I go, no. I just lied. I want to tell you that. So catch yourself in the lies. that we do every day of our lives. When people ask me, how are you? And I say, oh, fine. Like, that's a lie. That's a lie. My dog just died. So share your truths with people. Not that, they really care, but ask them, do you really mean that? How are you? Because Ho'opono, the practice of truth telling and truth doing and goodness doing, which has changed my life, because I had to first realize how much of a liar I was. So let's go over some of the fabulous, fabulous kupuna of Hawaii. And to Mona Simeona, absolutely. I believe when she was doing her Ho'oponopono, we were thinking that it wasn't the real thing, because it wasn't a strict family process. But let me tell you, it was her version of it. And where it's gone today is not her version. And I want you to all take a breath and realize that her version is totally a beautiful version. But let's go. Let's keep going. Auntie Mona gave lectures throughout the world, and she was beloved. She was beloved, and she passed in Germany. And she gave her teachings to a group of people. And she was developing a universal process of Ho'oponopono that's become what Auntie Lynette is calling like the first steps, necessary, but still the steps toward Ho'oponopono that is mutual. So Auntie Mona developed this process of she wanted to summon divine energy. So her Ho'opono was to bring into herself and to the people around her the divine energy. And she too practiced what Native peacemakers around the world are speaking about. To not focus on the effects, but focus on the causes. And so when you focus on the cause, and that's what I had to learn by being mentored by difference, I had to look at how I was the cause of my sister's unhappiness and my own. And so that is the summoning of divine energy. And so Auntie Mona taught us about the fact that we are both the cause and the healing process. And then something weird happened. It happened in after she passed, where they're calling it the Len mantra. And I think it's beautiful personally. When you can say, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, to another person, you've got to be ready. It can't be fake. It's a practice. But for us in Hawaii, that's not Ho'oponopono. Okay? That is a mantra. And that's the good news, you guys. Okay? So please get what I'm saying. That's the good news. That means you're ready for Ho'oponopono. Okay? And I love what Auntie Lynette says that. That means you're ready, because what happens in Ho'oponopono, the healing is mutual. We mutually emerge. This is the name of this workshop, Ho'opono, mutual self-becoming. We mutually emerge. We don't emerge just because, I tell you I love you. You know what I mean? That is the beginning. What happens if the person's not ready? They're not ready. You can't force freedom. But that means that you're ready to do it. And you're ready to listen to your role in the cause of the Hewa. That's the good news. So thank you for that. That process, that mantra that leads you into the practice of Ho'opono. And Ho'oponopono is what Auntie Mary Kawena Pukui, and by the way, Auntie Mona always honored Tutu Kawena in her work, and she connected it, and she fractaled from it in a beautiful way. But Auntie Kawena Pukui's Ho'oponopono is about mutual forgiveness. And isn't that mutual? This is why Hawaii, we got to do it mutually. We can't just, you can't just say, you know, you're not occupying our lands. We need a different way to forgive. We need a different way to live on these lands. And who knows, you could be the one to help us, please, because it's about mutuality. So thank you, Auntie Kavena, because your student, Auntie Lynette Paglinawan, has now become a teacher for thousands of us. And Auntie Lynette, she is so clear about Ho'opono. She is so clear that it's time to begin with ourselves so that we can develop a healer in every home. And that healer in every home could be you. So that's why we're here, to preserve, to perpetuate, and to innovate. And these are Auntie Lynette's words: preservation, perpetuation, and innovation. Isn't that fabulous? So in the process of Ho'opono, the speaking of truth, the activation of goodness, you begin with yourself. And when you do that, you have to self-reflect. That alo makawai, that ability to self-reflect, is very critical. It's critical in a way that allows you the freedom to evolve. Because if we're not evolving, we're not evolving. And that is the challenge, okay, you guys? That's the challenge, to evolve. So these are the Ho'oponopono concepts that take a lifetime to learn. And this is Auntie Lynette's way of organizing them. So you've got to understand, everybody, that Ho'oponopono you can do in your families. All you got to do is sit down and allow people to tell their truth, and then allow the hurts to come, and then allow the people to be led by the spirit of Aloha. So these are processes, but you will have your own process inside your family. This is only the Ka'u family process of using truth to get back to truth. You might have your own, and Maui Nui Akama, something tells me you guys will have your own. All right. So these are some of my favorite ololono'eaus that are gifts for you. Ho'okahila'auhemi, the first medicine is forgiveness. And that to me is where Pono really helps us mutually emerge, is when you forgive yourself for things that we could do better. Travis said to me one day, hey, I get it. Aloha is the art of understanding. So it's one of my favorite teachers is a gentleman named Krishnamurti. And his whole thing was to understand something, understanding. Because when you understand something, I believe understanding is a synonym for aloha. Then you change your behavior, you change your sense, you change. And when that changing has at its heart the spirit of aloha, then things begin to amplify by its own goodness. And Antimoku Ilima of Molokai says that Ho'oponopono is the healing of relationships between individuals. And that's what we want to do. When we mutually emerge, we always are in a path of healing. Here's another kupuna, Auntie Pilahi Paki, who's introducing to us the Aloha spirit. And she says that the world will turn to Hawaii as they search for peace, because Hawaii has a key, and that key is aloha. A-L-O-H-A, aloha in our day. And that's the key for Ho'opono, because we do mutually self-evolve. I say mutual self-evolve because Christ said the same, as you sow, so shall you reap. The Buddha said the same in Paticca it's called dependent co-arising. Our kupuna said the same when they said aloha aku, aloha mai, kokua aku, kokua mai, a'o aku, a'o mai, pono aku, pono mai, ʻike aku, ʻike mai. Pono is what Pono does, all right? Love is about loving. The gift is about giving. So in Indigenous thinking, our thinking is always in the verb format. it's the noun, a kupuna of the Blackfeet people. He said, we don't have nouns. Can you believe that? Isn't that amazing? Tabling, the tables were actually called tabling. So they knew that the all of life was an active animation of form. But that form was shaped by essence, not the other way around. That form was shaped by essence. And so when essence shapes our form, the question you have to ask yourself is, what is the essence of you, of me? And when that essence can be simplified to aloha, then you get this capacity to expand and include, expand and include. And that's where I'm at. And that's why it's time to share, but only when asked. Because truth is the highest goal and aloha is the greatest truth. There's one of my beloved mentors, Hale Makua. So I'm going to say it a little different. Pono is the highest goal and aloha is the greatest pono. Thanks, Hale Makua. So what happens with somebody like me who's a little slow, as a jock, I just would bounce the basketball over and over and over and over again because we ho'oma'a these things. So we ho'oma'a. We practice over and over and over and over. We don't just like rock up and do something once. No, depth and repetition, depth and repetition, depth and repetition. We practice over and over. And this is what my sister Miley taught me. Makahana ka ʻIke. By my actions, teach my mind. And these are the guys from Oahu. And I'm so grateful to know them. It's my niece, Lorna. They had to make the kuka'a because they're going into a home in Waialua to mend the mats. This is a lot of work. And they're teaching themselves. And I show you this because that's Ho'opono. They Ho'opono. And I know you guys, we do Ho'opono with our families, but now ratchet it up. Do it with ʻIke kupuna. Do it with ʻIke ʻāina, with the knowledge gained by spending time with our natural environment. Because when you do that, hahai no ka'ua I ka'ula la'au, when you plant a forest and you attract the rains that will make it grow, that it is a synonym for me for share purpose with others and live a life of meaning. So share purpose with others and live a life of meaning. I mean it. Share purpose with others and live a life of meaning. And that's what's saving my life is, you don't just, do my own thing. You know what I mean? That's not what we do. We do the kakoa pau thing. That's why my friend said it's a kako thing. It's not a aloha mako, aloha, kaua vale. No, it's aloha kako. We do it all. We all go. So, kanune aya ya oe kaulu. I planted, the growth is yours. Is that the last one? Oh no, we're gonna sing the Ole Mahalo. Okay. By the way, this is from my beloved places, Lualuale over in Waiʻanae. Thank you to Kaui and to Kukui Ma of Ma'o Farms. We collected some of the puha there and many of the weeds to make stew because it's time to gather the things that we think are weeds and use them. And for me, this is every single person I have ever run into in my life is a enlightened being. And that's you, for being on this call, for being on this webinar, for focusing on this topic, because it's so important. So please take what our kupuna has planted in you and let's be grateful for it. And that's why we're going to sing this song. I remember when they first started singing this song, it was with Kuka Hakalau over in Waikiki. It's a Native Hawaiian charter school movement. And I was the keynote speaker, 22 years ago, you guys. And, there was about 100 Kolohe teens. And after my speech, those teens jumped up and they sang this song, and I'd never heard of it before. It was about 25 years ago. And I promised that I would teach over 25,000 people this song because it just affected me so much. They didn't say, "Oh, thank you, Dr. Myer, for your speech." They sang it. They sang it. And I sobbed with gratitude because they meant it. And you know what? I'm over 25,000 people teaching this song. We at least 50,000 people because we sing it every single time we go holo holo. I can remember my own family 22 years ago, when I'd come home from Hilo and I'd sing the song with them. They go, "Oh no, we can't learn that. That's too long. That's too long. Don't sing that." I'm like, "Nope, we're going to do it. We're going to do it." And sure enough, 10 years later, we get them. So my Hila Hila, don't worry about the length. Just resonate with gratitude, okay, you guys? Because that is our mutual self-becoming. When you make gratitude your attitude, the energy of the Aloha spirit infuses into us, and ʻIke kupuna then shapes our knowing. So those of you who know this, sing along. Please mute yourselves. Those of you who don't know it, sing along anyway, or hum, because ho'oma'ama'a, depth and repetition. Depth and repetition. Then you can teach your own children. Then you can teach your own siblings, because it does take practice. It does take, and things of quality have no fear of time. Okay, you guys? Thank you for this opportunity to address you. Thank you for this, the quality of your work, Danielle, and everybody. And Venus, thank you for the invitation. And let's sing this song, and let's resonate. Let's resonate with an energy of gratitude for being here today. And so you can feel it in your heart. Okay, everybody? This Oli Mahalo is to every single one of you and the work that we continually do in our lives to expand and include, and to Ho'opono, to practice the truth-telling and the goodness giving of our kupuna, because they are around to continue to teach us, and they are in our dreams, and they are in our olelo no eau, they are in our hearts. So mahalo e ke okua, na kini okua, na auma okua, na kupuna, maloko o ku'u pu'uai. Mahalo nui. And we sing this to you to show you our gratitude. E olu mai oi. Uhola ia kamakaloala. Puai ke aloha la, kuka ia kahalo ala, pavehi mai na lehua, mai ka ho'oku ia kahalawai la, mahalo e na akua. Mahalo e na kupuna la ea. Mahalo me ke aloha la. Mahalo me ke aloha la. Mahalo nui. A beautiful soft breeze just came into this room right now. And it came and kissed us all. So thank you, everybody, for this day. And thank you, Danielle, for your work. Mahalo nui.
Thank you so much, Manu. We so appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. You're just always so inspiring and so honest, and I get chicken skin every time. So thank you. We do have a few minutes left. If anyone would like to ask a question, you can drop it into the Q&A box, or you can maybe drop it into the chat, and we can go from there. I see we have a lot of thank yous, a lot of mahalos in the chat coming.
We've got 15 minutes. I got it wrong, Danielle.
That's okay. We get plenty time. We got plenty time.
Louise.
That's okay. we're okay.
Sorry about that.
It all works how
just,
it's going to work, you know? I think it's just great. So a lot of different good comments. Any questions? Anything anyone wants to say?
Yeah, you guys, this is a practice. Wakahanaka ʻIke. Yeah, time to practice. Yeah.
Okay, here's one. Here's one, I think. So right here. So what do you think as an epistemologist of the haole flying of Ho'oponopono and it's being now watered down?
You know, I have to tell you, that's why I wanted to introduce to you Auntie Mona Simeona, because Dr. Hewlett was her student, and this is his practice. And then it was taken by Joe Vitale or whatever his name was, and they watered it down. But that's not our Kuleana. We have another practice, and they will do what they need to do, and I'm grateful. We're grateful. Any time that you can figure out how to love better, figure it out. It's not like there's only one way to love. But when Auntie Lynette says it's the beginning, you bring yourself, that's the hardest part in Ho'oponopono, is to have everybody ready for the process. And when you come to the process by saying, oh my gosh, forgive me, you know, I mean, that's half the battle. That's 90% of the battle. So the Len mantra that people are learning and paying thousands of dollars for, yay, learn it. But Ho'oponopono is about mutual forgiveness. You don't just rock up and say, forgive me. It's a mutual process. And that mutual process takes time. And that's why I wanted to introduce to you all the many versions of Ho'oponopono, because I know the Len mantra is, people think that's Ho'oponopono. And yes, that is a facet of it. Yes, honor it. But now the work begins when we have to really pay attention to our own causal reality for how we produce the Heva. And that is what I believe Dr. Lewin was doing. He is looking inside himself as his own primal cause. Recommendations for self-Ho'oponopono, any book that resonates with you about truth-telling, consciousness, David Hawkins, Power versus Truth, Power versus Force. That was a good one. David Hawkins, Power versus Force is a good one. Yeah, nice. Oh,
we have
nice.
Other comments, and then some. Margot was wondering, are you teaching at the college right now? At West Oahu, I believe.
You know, my job is to indigenize the institution, and there's plenty of faculty. I don't teach anymore. I miss it, so that's why I just like blah you guys. But no, and you have any tips to get resistant people to participate in Ho'opono? How to get people to participate in Ho'oponopono? And this is what it's really cool about different versions. You just do the Ho'oponopono on yourself. How's that? So that's how I've learned to do Ho'oponopono when people aren't ready. I do it on myself. And when you do it on yourself, you actually begin to vibrate at a different frequency, and that people will feel safe around you, or safe around themselves. Because, you know, forgiving ourselves, you guys, you know that my sister forgave me, my twin sister, and you know, I used to throw her in the naupaka almost every morning for a long time. She was short and small, and I could do it. And B, I didn't have the skills. I just was very, very annoying. And she has forgiven me. And in that forgiveness of my twin sister, I began to heal. Because ho'okahila auhe mihi, the first medicine is forgiveness.
Thank you, Mono. Denise Darvell Chang has a question. Can you share the cultural similarities between Aotearoa and Hawaiian values? And I have many friends there, and it seems that they're very grounded in their culture.
You know, I lived there for, my partner's a Maori, and I've lived there for years working in Tiwanaga, Aotearoa, the Maori University. I have to tell you, they are our cousins. We are completely related to them. And we have a tremendous capacity here. I came home learning, understanding how much we have to offer and how much we have to offer them. Isn't that amazing? Because we are their tuakana, we are their elder sibling, because Aloha is our culture. We, you know, they have aroha, we have aloha. Their word for their mihi means to mentor. For us, it means to forgive. It's the same idea. When you mentor someone, you are forgiving. When you forgive someone, you're mentoring them. So that's one of the main ideas that I can offer here quickly, is the idea of mihi. Mihi in Aotearoa means to mentor. It means to give a thanks, and specifically thank people on why. And in Ho'oponopono, mihi is that time where people forgive each other, and doesn't love mentor each other, doesn't love mentor. And so that's why we are the tuakana. I feel that we do have a maturity to offer the planet and to our Maori cousins, and that is the rigor, the sincerity, the intentionality of our commitment to aloha and to pono. See, pono is like the pono is like the bell. Pono is like the bell of compassion. That's aloha. And then the dorje of wisdom, which is pono, truth. So truth and aloha, loving and wisdom. And that is why we relate to old cultures around the world. We are an old culture, and we're healing ourselves through our practices.
Beautiful.
And that's why we sing, and that's why we sing. We say hello, and we sing when we say goodbye. That's the truth of that.
I love it. I love it. We have another question, Vicky Bellamini here from Maui, and she's also from our task force. Do you have any tips on how to get resistant people to participate in Ho'oponopono?
Yeah. Don't resist them. You could still do Ho'oponopono. Do it with those who are ready, and do it with within yourself. And then just keep a light out. Keep a light out, and you let them know. You let them know that you love them. All right. See, the thing is, that's why the work is within myself. You let them know, even though you ha, you ho'opa ki, even though you're really like that with them, you work on yourself to at least let them know, brother, I just need to let you know that I love you, and I know you're not ready, but I just love you, and when you are, we'll be ready. Okay. And that's why the work is in myself. I can't be saying, okay, sisters, it's your work. It's your work. It's your work. Because there's no power there. There's only control. Yeah. When I go inside myself and heal myself, people will want to, they knock on my door, but only when I forgive myself for doing things poorly. So work on yourself. And, heaven knows it's a lifetime, pastime, lifelong obligation.
You got it, exactly. So David, I'm going fast if I missed someone's question, I'm sorry, but David Fujimoto says, so you're not teaching, does that mean I can bother you about more things? I love that comment. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay. Bother me. This is my job. This is my job. This is my job. Manulani at Hawaii.edu. That's my please, you guys. This is my job to support any, everyone. Let me give you my email.
Yes,
I'm
please
home
drop
now.
That in the chat.
And it is I'm home now.
Beautiful.
Ta-da! And we're planting coconuts everywhere, just so you know. I just want to PS Neil now. And because we have to, philosophy is good, and the implications of values is great, but we got to feed each other. And it's
excellent.
Nice.
Excellent. Another comment, any offerings on how to invite and lead the light out for the younger ones? Words of inspiration to create a path for our young ones to recognize.
Yes, be the light. I like be the light you wish to see in the world. And mentor one person one person, and let that person be yourself. And yeah, just be the light. Yeah.
Okay, Amber, you can, if you have Jolene or Genesis questions, you can ask them.
Nice.
You can unmute.
Jolene had a question asking if you can talk about getting behind the pain of your own trauma, kanaka, trauma, family, etc.
Yeah, I can. And you know why? Because as an athlete, I had to die at 18 when I had started my 5 operations on my knees. So there is a death. So when there's a death inside of myself, and almost as a physical death too, because I did attempt to kill myself twice. And the trauma of my people's trauma is very komaha for me. I'm an Aluli, and our dedication is to our people, Oiavalino, and to our lands. So how to get beyond it is to know that it is our operating principle. So kaumaha, and this is why Nanaiki Kumu Volume 3 is vital. It's vital because the book, after 40 years, we finally are beginning to discuss our resilience. So Nanaiki Kumu Volume 3 is about our resilience. And so now I'm coming out, even as a gay woman. You know, he was so homophobic. We're so ashamed for that. So, and now, you know, being gay is like boring to most people. You know what I mean? So now it's like, oh, okay. But, you know, back in the 70s, forget it. It was very dangerous to come out. And so, but now it's like, I'm finally healed. And so the trauma that we still, I'm every single day of my life is dedicated to healing. But the healing for me now is about developing our resilience. And that is deconstructing capitalism to reconstruct a sacred economy for me. And that's why we're planting coconuts. So yes, there's kaumaha inside, but there's also resilience. And that resilience allows me to wake up and feel purposed. And I share my purpose with many people so that we can be of service to the transformation, not only of Hawaii, but of the world. The world needs us.
Thank you so much. We have another question from Genesis. How do we have truth and reconciliation healing in Hawaii?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think it's ongoing as a part of the, what's that first thing, the Akaka bill? Yeah, they put me on the Akaka bill years ago. I was like, Pu'iva. I was like, no, don't put me on that. Because, you know, we do it within ourselves, everybody. And we radically collaborate with those who are ready, because we are going to do this ourselves, and we're going to radically collaborate. And, you know, I've been working with the Canadian First Nations people on their truth and reconciliation. I got to tell you this right now, the kupuna, you know, they're like, how do you reconcile? My 2 siblings killed themselves. My mother was raped and had 3, you know what I mean? Like, don't tell me that we're doing this work without our own readiness, ours. And so when we're ready, which you will find us. You will find us in our conservation practices. You will find us in our education, naho peno ao. You will find us in our canoes. You will find us in our fishing practices. You will find us as Ho'oponopono, haku Ho'oponopono. You will find us in our prisons, working to heal our prisons. You will find us everywhere. But now, all you gotta do is, you know, vehe pepeo. Listen, because we get something, you know.
Well, Manu, I want to thank you so much. I know I didn't get quite to everything in the chat. I'm sorry about that, but we're running out of time. We have about 1 minute left. Dr. Myer did drop her email in the chat. Please feel free to contact her. I know she'd be happy to connect with you, you know, at any time. It was really, I was inspired when, you know, Dr. Myer spoke at our conference for Mental Health America last May, and I immediately that day, that afternoon, contacted her about speaking in this
did.
conference here, and of course she responded and said yes. So please feel free to connect with her. I see one here. How can we get more involved in the work you're doing in the prisons? I know that a lot of prisons have allow different groups to come in, whether they're with Alcoholics Anonymous or other support groups. Do you have any information we can finish with that, Manu, about how they can connect to get doing more work in the prisons?
Tony Bisson, contact Tony. Tony is a beloved friend. And every single prison, every single jail, every single in Maui, just contact Tony Bisson or Mark Patterson. And there's just many people in your neighborhoods, and be an open vessel for kids and young adults that are asking for your help. That's all. Do it within your own family first, okay, everybody?
Exactly. And you can email me here, Danielle.
Contact Auntie Melina, Kaula Kukui.
Yes.
Auntie Melina, can you put your email address?
There you go.
Because Auntie Melina does many things in our prisons.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Auntie.
Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
And thanks, everybody, for today. We'll be now